Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Soft UK's podcast series. Today we've got Larry Crofton with us. He's going to give his dad's perspective on being a trisomy dad to Darcy. So thanks so much, Larry. Let's hear about her. How is she, and how did you find out about Darcy's condition? And
well, hi first. Thank you for having me. Yeah, she's well. She's actually just watching my partner play PlayStation at the moment. She loves watching TV. She loves lights and anything like that that's moving. Well, it started with a scan when my partner was pregnant, and the Darcy's kidneys looked a bit different. They weren't sure if something was not right or not. And it kind of went on from there. We spent the whole pregnancy not knowing whether there was something wrong or not.
Okay, so they didn't actually diagnose you in pregnancy?
No. We got to, I think Rebecca was about 36 weeks, something like that. Darcy was born at 37, I think. 30 weeks, yeah. And we had to go to hospital in London and have another scan. That's where they offered an amnio. Right. And they started talking about, if the results weren't what we wanted, we could have an abortion and all that. And it kind of made us go, whoa, this is a grown baby that we've bonded with now.
Yeah.
That's a bit, no, we straight away, we were just like, no, we'll just wait and see how things go. Kind of got it into my head that the worst outcome could be Down syndrome. And then out pops Darcy, and she didn't have Downs, and she certainly didn't look normal compared to the other pregnancies and the other children that we've had. Yeah, and it was a massive shock. Her coming out really sort of shook my world. I was like, wow, what has she got? What is this?
So you noticed instantly from her appearance?
Well, yeah, when she was born, they done a little check, because it was a really traumatic experience anyway, the birth, because it was the first time it had to be in a consultant-led. And it just seemed a bit more clinical, and they tried to, kickstart the birth. And that went on for about, I don't know, a couple of days, and we were just sitting there listening to her heartbeat and watching monitors. And then it all started happening, and she was stuck, and the cord was coming down by the side of her head. So with each contraction, it's squashing the cord, and her heart rate was dropping. So a midwife had to literally sort of hold her up. Rebecca was rushed into theatre, and obviously I went in as well. And yeah, it was all like, everyone was panicking, and Robbie Williams' Angels came on the radio in the theatre. I was like, wow. And, within minutes she was cut out, and they were like, well, she's got this, she's got a cleft, she's got extra digits and that. And I was like, information overload. And then they passed her to me, and I noticed her ear was missing, and I kind of just freaked out. I was like, oh, can someone take her? I had to get out and just step out for a bit. And I started kind of doing what I think a lot of parents do, and just looking up what she had, because I didn't actually have a name for it then. I was like, well, there's this and this and this and this, because she had a single umbilical artery as well, bilateral duplex kidneys. She's got the cleft palate, she's got the ear missing, the extra digits. And I started putting all that together, and a few things came up, but trisomy 13 kept popping up. And I mentioned it to a doctor there a few days later, because she spent like 2 weeks in SCBU and NICU. So it took that amount of time for them to get the genetic testing done. So during that time, I mentioned it to a doctor. I was like, could it be this? And the doctor said to me, no, it's definitely not that, because that's completely incompatible with life. And obviously she's here, kind of left it at that. And when we got the diagnosis come through, it's just... Did
they send off for a genetics test, and then that came back as full trisomy 13?
Yeah, we said to them, we're like, well, she seems to look well and is doing well. Are you sure? And the doctor was like, yeah. We're like, well, could it be partial or mosaic or something? He was like, no, it's complete trisomy 13. We've done all this and all that. And I was like, okay. Because by then she was 2 weeks old, and obviously from what we'd read, she'd outlived a lot of other children. And from then onwards, we're just like, wow, we're gonna lose her any second, really. That's how we felt the whole time.
What did you think would be your next steps after knowing what her diagnosis was?
We had no idea, really. We were given a leaflet saying that we could have another child, basically, and we'd have very little chance of having a child with trisomy 13.
Wow.
And then they cancelled all her appointments, follow-up appointments. They didn't fill in our red book. They told us we didn't have to bother with immunisations or anything like that, and discharged us the next day into the care of Keach, basically, for end of life. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But
kind of sort of gave you a path that you probably hadn't decided yet.
Yeah, we kind of felt like that was it. We've been sent home for her to die, and
Yeah. That's really harsh, isn't it?
Yeah, they've since, I know at the hospital, they since, I don't know what you want to call it, but I know they had meetings about how the situation was handled wrongly. So Darcy's kind of changed a few procedures there, I think, with how they deal with things, because it wasn't handled well. I don't think, from what I know, I don't think they'd had a trisomy 13 baby at that hospital, which seems to be a running theme. We do get a lot of specialists who haven't dealt with it before.
The hospital I had my son in had known of a couple of instances, not recent, but just, in their lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's what they would base their own diagnosis on it, which would normally be quite negative.
Yeah. And we've come across a few occasions where doctors have actually been reading about it before an appointment or something. Or I think one of them we went into, it was for her eyes. He had it up on the screen, like on Wikipedia or something, reading about trisomy 13. And
well, that's comforting.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's nice, I think, because we kind of feel like we're helping people learn more about it and see another side of it, and maybe changing some opinions. It's kind of like, I think how we were treated and how we experienced it is why I set out on Instagram and things to try and change the way it's perceived, and how kind of just the first thing parents might see when they're looking for information. I just wanted to kind of show that there is a bit of hope out there sometimes, and not every baby's the same, because some do make it a bit further, and I've on this journey seen quite a few, and a few of us have come together and kind of just trying to show that as well.
And you're quite vocal about her story, aren't you, on Instagram and social media? Do you feel like that's it's been sort of an outlet for you, cope with managing Darcy? And
yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, in the beginning, like I said, how we were sent home, I was just constantly, I think at first you kind of think all sorts of things, and early on she had, at a few months old, she got sepsis, and we went into the hospital and we were told she wouldn't make it through the night, and they wanted to give her like morphine and stuff, and they didn't really want to help, and they started threatening us with legal teams when Rebecca refused to sign DNAR, and that's when they were like, right, well, we need a second opinion, and they phoned Great Ormond Street in London, and they stepped in and said, no, you have to do everything you can to help this child, and that was it. Suddenly we started getting the help we needed, and the professionals needed. And on that particular occasion with the sepsis, they had some medicines and that they could use, and she made a full recovery and left the hospital 2 weeks later. But during that time, I was thinking all sorts at home. I was like, I think there's been a couple of occasions where I've sat and looked up things like funeral costs, or just the sort of stuff that goes through your head when you're in that situation. And
it's just the unknown, isn't it? And it's how you want to prepare yourself for it. But she obviously defies your odds, and she's thriving, isn't she? How old is Darcy now then?
Well, she's 2. I'm trying to think of her exact age. She's 2. Yeah, she's 2.5 now. She must be. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it should be 3.
Do you think so? Do you think she turned a corner after she turned 1, or is it still been sort of up and down? And
well, I find with these children that you can never let your guard down too much. If you do, they'll find a way of reminding you that they have trisomy 13.
Yeah, exactly.
Darcy spent a lot of the first year having these breath hold spells.
Yeah.
She'd just stop breathing and pass out. And for us, that's probably the scariest thing. I think a lot of parents have different things they go through. Some people have seizures and there's certain apneas and all sorts of stuff. But for us, it was breath hold spells, and it was. Yeah, it wasn't nice, because sometimes they can happen multiple times a day, and to us, because it's a new thing, it's like watching us lose her multiple times a day, and we're like, wow, this is quite a sort of tormenting type thing. But eventually we got on top of it. It kind of became our normal. Well, after she turned 1, actually, it's probably nearer to 2, the breath hold spell stopped. and she's only had a few since then, really.
Brilliant! So she kind of outgrew them.
Yeah, we had 6 months with nothing. And I think as these children sort of mature and as they get older, they get a bit better with their sort of some symptoms.
Yeah.
Obviously, some things are beyond sort of things that they can grow out of, but stuff like breath hold spells as they get older. She if she has one now, she seems to have better control of everything.
I think as they grow, they teach you more than you know anyway as well.
She's opened my eyes to a whole world I never knew existed. And I think before I would have looked or heard about a child with trisomy 13, I would have gone, I feel for that parent. I can't imagine what they go through and all that. Whereas now I know that you can't imagine it. People can't imagine it. It's such a full-on sort of experience all the time. I mean, like when she was born, for example, she was fed on the hour, every hour, day and night for like three months or so. And even just that was surreal, and you start walking around like a zombie and thinking you're never going to sleep again. And
it's such a different experience to, you said you've got other children, so it's not something that you've experienced before.
Everything becomes bigger as well, as in like if she does something, it's like, wow. Whereas with the others, you kind of just take it for granted.
Yeah.
You just expect them to do stuff like walk and talk and that. Whereas if Darcy suddenly spoke or walked, it would just be mind-blowing.
Yeah. Their milestones are different, aren't they? You soon learn that they're going to do different things at different stages, or maybe not.
I think milestone-wise, that's one of the things I said early on, is that with these children, the hospitals kind of carry on going on about milestones and stuff. And I think you learn quite early on that that's the one thing you've got to throw out the window. Don't bother with normal milestones. Forget about things like walking, talking. They've got to do this by that age, or they've got to do that by that age, because it isn't going to happen. These children just do things at their own pace, and you just have to just enjoy them.
I think that's a great tip to give to any other families that might be listening.
I mean, they're really happy. Like some of them go through really sort of traumatic experiences and that, but on top of it all, they always seem smiley and happy. And and Darcy especially, she's just non-stop in a happy zone. Unless she's upset, she's just happy. And for me, that's more important than anything. If they're happy.
I think that's probably a credit to you and your partner and your other children, because you're providing such a happy environment for her. The
other children, they dote on her, and they're always walking up to her, giving her kisses or cuddles or playing with her. And she's definitely in a house of non-stop love.
yeah, that's good.
Well, I think apart from me, what I was doing, trying to spread a sort of better picture for parents out there, it's also a dad thing. I think a lot of these groups and that are dominated by women. And even now I'll see in certain groups online, people will post and they'll be like, ladies, I need advice, or women. And it's like, we're there, us dads are there, and we kind of get forgotten about. But I think I would advise dads to get out there and talk to people. Even these the women are nice women generally, and they all like chatting. Don't feel bad about entering a group and it being dominated by women, because
or even just intimidated by it. I think it's just easier for the women to take lead on something like that. But like you said, the guys are still there, and the guys are such a big support to the women.
I mean, I think we get forgotten about a lot, and even things like our mental health, our physical health, and everything gets affected by this. And I think just guys need to remember to look after themselves and sort of think about themselves as well. So I think it's easy for us to sort of sit there and think, right, we need to protect our child and our partner, and we need to speak to people as well. And I'd definitely say get out there and go and talk to people in the Trisomy 13 community, and just think about yourself from time to time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so glad you said that, Larry. And Soft are trying to do as much as they can to sort of make that barrier less and less, to try and encourage guys to come and talk to one another, or just like you said, in general groups. So hopefully,
I think it affects both mum and dads pretty equally. I think people assume that because generally that because the mother gives birth and everything, that they'll be so much more devastated. But from what I've experienced, both mums and dads both need help and both really sort of can suffer from this. So yeah, just get out there, talk.
Yeah, perfect.
Come and say hi to me.
Yeah, exactly. Come talk to Larry. He's on social, so it won't be hard to find him. Thank you so much for sharing your story about Darcy. Okay. It's been so nice to hear about her, and I'm so glad she's doing so well. Thank you for joining us.